From the Middle is oh so proud to be a founding member of Odd Pods Media. Hey people, welcome to episode number 279 of From the Middle, a comedy, culture, entertainment, and interview style podcast hosted by three middle-class guys living in the middle of America and the middle chapters of their lives with a point of view that's somewhere in the middle. In this week's episode, we talk about the fact that Dillon got a cup that he is very excited about. I bagged a deer 75 minutes into the deer season, which is crazy. It doesn't always go this well. We'll tell you all about it. Why I'm in Seattle for what might be my last gig with the company I'm currently working for a while. We also talk about the fact that there's this new Red One movie with The Rock where it's like action and Christmas, and there's all these Christmas action movies. But did you know that there's sexy Christmas movies? We're not talking Hallmark movies. We're talking like in the vein of Magic Mike. Kendall shares some childhood favorite card games with his kids, and we talk a little bit about what we're streaming with our super fast Ethernet cables. Hope you enjoy this week's episode. We had a lot of fun recording.
Oh, for the love. Sorry, just clearing my Mountain Dew hole.
I got my phone hole cleaned today.
That's where you keep it? You're so cerebral and you're so developed and evolved.
From the Middle after dark over here.
You know, sometimes it's the little things that just bring the tiniest shred of joy into a dark, heavy world. So, just kidding. Not about the first part, about the second part. Anyways, so I placed my mobile Taco Bell order the other day and went through the drive-thru and had to wait a long time just to say mobile order, which is a whole other beef, pun intended. And as I got up to the window, they handed me a drink, and I've seen rumors of Taco Bell shrinking, among other fast food chains, shrinking their cup size. Mm-hmm. And I got a large with my combo, and I thought, this is a really small large. This isn't like shrinkflation, smaller large. This is like...
They got it wrong.
And then I look down at what it is, and it's a Baja Blast, which is not what I ordered. So they definitely got it wrong. No big deal. I start to like turn and look back up, to tell the person they've already identified the issue and said, I think I gave you the wrong drink. Let me get you the right drink. Great. So I start to hand the cup back, and they're like, no, you keep it. And so I thought, okay, cool. I probably won't drink this anyways, because it's not what I was in the mood for. But then as I turned the cup around, I noticed it was like a vintage, throwback Taco Bell Decades cup. And if you're not following us on YouTube, this is why you should, because this super important stuff. And then all of a sudden I was like super excited that I got the like throwback Taco Bell cup with my order. And so that was super nice. And then turns out they messed up the most expensive item that I got, which is a lot more expensive than it was 10 years ago. And so I'm like, well, I guess I'll go in the app and probably have to submit a thing and upload a receipt and whatever. And so I just went in. It's like, there was an issue with my order, made it wrong, put in like a quick sentence and hit submit. And I'm like, cool, I'll just have to wait. And then automatically it was like, here's $10. Sorry for the trouble for your next order. So like double win.
Good job, Taco Bell.
Yeah, good job. So I have my nice little non-large vintage Taco Bell cup, which I was excited to drink out of until the plastic breaks down into my body. And and then I got a free $10 voucher, which more than paid for the mess up that they had, which I was still able to force down my throat. So, win-win.
Very good.
This will probably signal to listeners why I'm a pack rat, but that's almost keep worthy, that cup.
I did. No, that's exactly what happened. I rinsed it out.
What are we talking about?
I immediately came home and dumped out the drink. I didn't want the Baja Blast this time. I'm not knocking Baja Blast. I just didn't want it this time. And so I dumped it out, rinsed it out, and just set it on the counter. I'm like, that's a neat little cup. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that till the plastic breaks down into my intestines and organs. So yeah, it's fun. I like the little vintagey look.
Very good.
You,
That
you
is
probably, you
interesting.
guys probably know this. I was with one of the kids and we drove by a Taco Bell, and on separate windows they had 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s. Are they doing like a best items of those decades thing? I don't know what this. Okay,
Do you
tell me
not
more
see
about this.
commercials ever?
Yeah.
I don't
How
know.
did you
Tell me
miss the
about it.
commercials? They're celebrating the decades. So they're bringing back like an item from like the 70s,
A few
80s,
items.
90s. And
So right now they
yeah.
have the original gordita. They have the tostada. They've got the green sauce burrito thing.
Mhm.
All at
That might
once, or
be.
is this like a
Oh, they have
phased
all
thing?
that. They have all those at once right now.
Yeah, and
Nice.
I think later the caramel apple empanada is coming back,
Yeah,
or the
there's a whole
caramel
list of
apple
things.
panda, depending on who's asking. Of which I still remember the verbatim definition. It's a crispy golden pastry pocket filled with chunks of warm apples and a creamy caramel sauce. In case you wanted to know what that kind of item was, they are good. So yeah, they've got a handful of bring back the decades items, and I think there's a little more to come because I don't think the caramel apple empanada is out right now. Out again right now. So
Yeah, they're rocking the '90s right now is what they're doing, and my assumption is that they're going to do different decades at different times.
yepers.
Missed opportunity to do the collector's cups from those decades, that like your cup, but then do the version after that that had the like turquoise and purple of the different logo, and then
I think
you
they
could go
are.
through.
I think they're doing different versions. And then I remembered after I kind of realized what this was and why I got it. I think they were only doing collectors on like the medium cups.
Mm.
So I'm sure that has something to do with medium is probably the most profitable or something. And so they picked that for a reason. But still fun. And yeah, if I get more of the little cups, I'm going to keep them because why not?
That is,
Yeah,
you're
I
like,
clearly haven't been paying attention.
You haven't.
my, that is such a weird. It's the reason I'm laughing at you is because my parents keep McDonald's large cups to reuse because they like the cups. They think they're magic cups because they tell me that they don't sweat, but they do. So I don't understand. Anyway, there's a stack of them washed out sitting on their kitchen counter right now.
Yeah.
They're fun old people. Anyway,
Why not? Well, it also
It,
probably, do they ever throw them away? Do they wash them and throw them away eventually? Or do they
I
just,
think so. But they have like a lot of them. They're legit orders. I had to move them once and it was ugh.
sometimes the convenience of things like that is because then they can use it for a while and then just pitch it and they don't have to do dishes. Do they have an aversion to dishes?
No,
No.
no,
Okay.
not particularly.
Okay.
Kendall, if you go to a movie that you're especially excited about, perhaps a franchise that you like, get yourself a large popcorn and soda. I call it pop. And that
Yeah.
pop comes in a cool plastic cup. Are you going to keep that cup and put it on a shelf and maybe put paintbrushes or crayons for the kids in it or something? Or are you
Not
just going to
not
throw it
if
away?
it's meant to be disposable. So there is a fine line. So for right now, I am a stadium cup guy. So this is a Cincinnati Reds stadium
That
cup
was going to be my next question.
that I will use until it gets nasty. But even then, I only keep so many of them. So we have like our regular glasses, and then we have stadium cups, and really nothing else in between. And so I do hang on to stadium cups, but I do throw them out. We have like maybe 7 or 8 of them, and then when I can't fit a couple stacks of them in the pantry, and we could bring in another one, I swap it out and throw away one of the older ones.
Love that. If you come to our house, you will see that Sherry and I have probably over 100 stadium cups from Ohio State sporting events. We are the people that once everybody clears out and Carmen, Ohio has been sung from the end zone and
Yeah,
everybody is gone, we will walk back and forth in the aisle getting the large, only the larges, the large
Yeah, yeah.
plastic cups with cool Ohio State designs on them. We use them until they've chipped off so much in the dishwasher
Mhm.
that it warrants getting out another stack of 12 that we have in storage. Yeah, we're those people.
All right. Well, hey,
Stadium cups are fun.
that's a little different. They call them souvenir cups. You're supposed to take those ones home.
It's
But
cool.
no, I'm not taking the plastic, but not any thicker than the paper popcorn bucket. Like I'm not taking that home. But I'm not doing.
All right. And to be clear, I normally wouldn't. It was just neat.
I know it reminded me of my parents. That's
It's
all.
neat. Oh, great.
We're all old guys in our.
Yeah.
I'm over here wearing like button-up pajamas and a bathrobe. Trying to call out your old guy thing. So there's that.
We've got our stuff. Go get y'all a Gordita Beef Supreme and a
Do
Mexi
it.
Melt and have a good time.
That's what it's called, a Meximelt.
Mexi Melt, yeah. Yeah. There's rumors circulating the interwebs that some places have chili cheese burritos again too. So that'd be
If you know where to ask.
yeah.
So some of them have never not had it.
Yeah.
I forget what you guys know. I'm obsessed with Bobby Lee. I forget what he orders from there. It's off menu and it's something from the 90s that they will make for you. It's like an enchilada, it's like a messy burrito that they serve in a dish.
Yeah. They actually brought that back temporarily, I think, like earlier in the year.
So even before then, he would just, because they have all the ingredients to make it, and he's like, most places will just make it for you if you ask for it.
Yeah.
Do you know what that is, Dillon? You're the expert.
It's probably the enchilada, which I think was called a chilito. No, chilito was
enchilito.
An enchilito.
Enchilito. Yeah, I think that's it.
I never tried it, and I wasn't aware of it back in the day, but I was aware of it earlier this year when they like did a throwback to it.
Nice. Well, there you go. Now we can order like Bobby Lee and Kendall's parents. What's up with
Kendall
you, Kory? Your surroundings seem different than your office. What are you up to?
Yeah,
I'm in Seattle at Amazon headquarters for potentially my last gig as a full-time employee. So that's fun. I still have yet to hear any official guidance from HR about all this craziness. It's all just been word of mouth, which tells me that this was a top-down decision that even HR is scrambling to understand how to implement.
Okay.
But that post that I talked about last week continues to get traction. It's got 350,000 impressions now on LinkedIn. And I've had some very interesting conversations. Who knows if any of this will lead to anything? But I'm very excited to say that I've talked now to multiple people at the Lego Group. I've talked to an executive at Pixar, and I am in active conversations with 3 executives at DreamWorks. So there are some fun things that are some of this is not directly from the LinkedIn post. Some of this is me reaching out based on contacts that I had or engagements that I've done with some of these companies. Lego and Pixar both require you to work from a hub office, minimum 3 days a week. So those probably won't be options for me for the time being. But DreamWorks is very open to remote work. And so currently I'm most excited about that opportunity. It's looking like, without getting too much into the plan, because there is no hard and fast plan yet. And to be quite honest, Sherry and I really haven't sat down yet and like crunched numbers and talked about what we're going to do next. But it might make the most sense for me to be a contractor and temporarily, as a soft landing and a little bit of extra runway, contract for the very company that I'm leaving. They've already offered to bring me back a couple times a month and do gigs, which would be great, and just buy me some more time while I try to figure out what might be next in the medium term. So, so I might just do that. There's also a small piece of me that's like, am I only doing that though because it's comfortable and because it's what I know? So while that's great, and I've got mouths to feed, and I'm not going to not do it just because it might be the safe thing. It doesn't mean it has to be the forever thing. And maybe I just do it for a time while I'm trying to figure out what's next. So anyway, so yes, I'm in Seattle this week. For sure. Well, not for sure. Something could always slide in, but it'll probably be my last gig for the year. Because I haven't heard from HR, I still don't know what my last day is supposed to be. So this is all very, very crazy. And I have to be honest, it's very weird being at the office with all these people and all these executives who have made some of these decisions or allowed some of these decisions, and just try to like be a consummate professional and show up and smile and do my job. So there's that. So I'm in my hotel chilling with a Stella and a pretzel, hanging out with you guys. My favorite part of the week.
Yeah.
Could you show up tomorrow with the most casual clothes that you put in your bag, and maybe have that beefy gordita supreme just dribbling down your clothes
Last day, guys.
as you lounge in the lobby with your laptop on your lap?
That's something that we could have some fun talking about. The very, very fine line between I am a man of faith. I always try to do a good job. Midwesterners have sort of like a humble approach to work. We're not, as a general rule, right? I've seen cultural differences. We're generally like, we're down to do whatever. There's no ego. Whatever, more so than maybe some of the coastal cities and like big business. But when they're forcing you out in the way that they're doing it, it's really tempting to be the I don't give two F's guy and just be like, fire me, I dare you. It's very tempting to want to do the absolute minimum and almost have some fun with it. Like, what could I get away? Could I get away with sweatpants in our executive briefing center while companies are
Yeah.
being hosted? The backwards hat I already wear at the offices, so I don't care about that. But it's kind of comical, the things I fantasize about doing.
Yeah, you want to have there's the battle between like the job's not done till it's done sort of attitude, and also, could I be playing PlayStation while on a meeting eating a chili cheese burrito? Would I be able to pull that off, and would anybody say anything? Because you're kind of curious, right? Like, could I get away? Or maybe it's the Michael Scott. You just want to have you have no idea how high I can fly kind of thing on the way out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's the weird part, and I really we don't have to go back into the details of it, but like they're offering no severance, and the reason that they're getting away with that is because they're saying at a fundamental level, the requirements of your job are changing. We know we told you could work from home. That has changed. We now expect you to be in an office. If you're not going to do that, then that's you by de facto choosing to leave. You're not meeting the minimum requirements of the job, even though we changed it. And so the way that we're paying you back for that is to offer you that relocation package, no severance, because we're not firing you. So now it's kind of like, can you fire me though? But we all know it's very, very hard. I said this last time. It's very hard to fire someone, even at small, medium, large. There's paperwork and there's gates, and you have to write up a personal or a plan, like a personal development plan. And if they don't pass that, I mean, it's hard. Which is anyway. So it's a fun, interesting, weird time. I'm still optimistic, still excited about the future, having fun conversations with some of my dream companies. But the one I'm leaving and the way that it's happening is just very, very funky.
Yeah. Hey, Kory, can you come in here for this meeting? Hold on, I got to Stella on some pretzels. Let me finish this.
Can I bring my
I'll be
Stella
right
and
there.
pretzels with me?
Yeah.
No, well, I'm gonna anyway.
Can I wear my sweatpants into the meeting?
Yeah.
Fun times.
I
for
only
sure.
brought sweatpants. Sorry.
In other news, I forgot to mention this last week, and I've told so many hunting stories. My buddy Drew invited me to go hunting a few weeks ago We post up in the woods. We went in at before sunrise. 75 minutes in, I bag a deer.
Wow.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's not a trophy buck, but he's a little funky 8 point young couple-year old buck, and he's going to be delicious. So you have the crazy stories that I told at length before, and then you have instances where he was, guys, literally 5 steps away from me, and it was my first sit of the season. This doesn't happen.
Yeah.
The odds that I was less than an hour and a half in, and he walked within 5 steps of me, it's just crazy. So Drew was so excited for me. He's like, but you just have to wait, because I had already shot him. I saw that he had fallen 20 yards away. Not Drew, the deer. Um, I saw the buck fall, so I knew I wasn't going to have a dramatic,
You weren't
emotional.
tracking. Yeah.
I wasn't going to be tracking. So Drew said, I know you're excited to get down, but can you just wait? Because maybe we can double up, because that would be like epic if we each get a deer today. So he's like, just wait. Hour goes by, hour and a half goes by. I'm looking at my deer. I just want to get down. The adrenaline is still pumping from the shot and the excitement. And I'm trying to be calm, because I know Drew's watching a group of 5, like close-ish to his stand. And I finally go, so what's the plan, Stan? Like, what do we do? What do we do? And he ended up taking a shot and missed. It bounced off the doe's back. And he was bummed about that, but it ended up being a really good day. And I can't believe I forgot to tell you guys that story. So it's crazy how close everything is to where Dillon and I are from. So we field dressed the deer. Uh, Drew backed his work truck up to the woods. We threw the buck in the back of his work SUV, not truck, work SUV, just wrapped a tarp around it.
Sure.
Took it to the grocery store, Stites Groceries, to process it. Remember, I told this story how it's like a grocery store slash deer butchering place. Which, by the way, they said, hey, if you want the antlers or the cape or anything, like, we don't detach that for you. So you're going to have to do that. And we're like, cool, but we didn't exactly plan for that. So we're in a parking lot of a grocery store, cutting the head,
Heck
cutting
yeah.
the head off of a deer, getting out a saw to cut the
Dude.
neck, to cut the
Rural
vertebrae.
rural Midwest, man. That's
And then I'm like,
have
well,
that.
the taxidermist is 2 miles away, and I'm going to have him do a European mount on this one, and not like a full shoulder mount with the hide. I'm just going to do a European mount, which is just the
Yeah,
antlers
European
and
mount.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, the skull.
Naturally.
So it's a bleached skull and the antlers. You don't have
Oh, okay. Okay.
any flesh or eyes or anything. It's just the skull and the antlers, because it's not a trophy buck. But it is my first buck at Sherry's dad's woods in Ada, so I was excited to have a memento from that. So anyway, pretty cool. Like, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes you catch a ton of fish, sometimes they're not biting. This was one of those days where sunrise was perfect, weather was perfect, it was full rut, deer were moving everywhere, and one just walked right by my tree stand. It was so fun.
Have you guys seen the reel of the daughter and her dad sitting in the blind? And the caption is something like, "My dad says he can call deer." Have you
Oh yeah,
have you seen this
yeah,
one?
I've not seen this one.
It's
yeah.
the beginning of the video is so quiet, and you see the dad kind of like leaning towards the opening, like he's just getting ready, and he like pauses for dramatic effect in hindsight, and then all of a sudden you just hear, "Come here!"
Oh,
Just
it's so high. It's so high pitched that we can't. It doesn't come through on
oh
Zoom.
no, he says, "Come here, dear," like that, but really high pitched. And it's so good. You're so caught off guard. The daughter loses it, and then the dad still insists to play up the bit, and he's like shushing the daughter, like, "Oh, hold on, this is gonna work."
That's
It's so
amazing.
good. I'll try to find
That's
it and
fun.
share it. It's funny.
That's a great opportunity to plug our Facebook group, From the Middle for the Middlers. This is sort of what we treat as our non-pay paywall. This is what you would get if we had a Patreon, but we just offer it for free. So check us out on Facebook if you're on Facebook at From the Middle for the Middlers. That is a family friendly, for the most part, group where we share a lot of memes and some of the stuff that we talk about in our episodes. There's another good one where I think it's a little girl hunting and she shoots, and that adrenaline and the excitement of knowing that you got a good shot and that it drops, and she just can't even talk to her dad. It's so adorable. She's so excited to have her. I think it's her first deer. Anyway, yeah, we'll share that one too. This feels like a great time to take a quick break and hear some words from some of our friends in the broader Odd Pods media.
Hey, this is Grab and Brisket Podcast. Join us every Monday where we talk about the latest trends in barbecue, interviews with world top pitmasters, celebrity cooks,
Ooh, like Wee Man from Jackass.
and musicians.
Like Rich O'Toole?
So check us out. We do beer reviews, barbecue fails.
So many fires.
Dude, a lot of people just burn their houses down for no reason.
We also talk about cocaine hippos versus Beth Gators,
Learn how to make some tailgate gravy.
altercations with Texas Rangers.
People throwing Reese's peanut butter cups.
Yeah, so check out grabthebrisket.com for podcast info, viral social media posts, and so much more.
Hey, you know how, Dillon, you said sometimes it's the little things.
Yep.
And our listeners are tired of me talking about our new basement remodel and the fact that that's finished. But there was one lagging little issue that I've wanted to fix. So, gosh, during COVID, I think, or maybe even before, we got the Eero wireless mesh system through our house. It just extends your Wi-Fi signal throughout the house and evenly distributes it a little more, so you don't have hot spots and dead zones in your house. Anyway, it was the first generation, and those were kind of finicky. And there's one room in our house that just, you always drop calls, and Sherry cannot seem to have a successful Zoom meeting in there. It drops every time. I was really excited that before they finished out the basement, I knew I had an Ethernet cable that was already running from my office. And I was like, hey, can you guys run that to behind where the new TV is going to be mounted? They're like, yeah, no problem. So I think I told the story. I didn't have the right tool to properly clamp it and put the RJ45 connectors on and blah, blah, blah. And I jerry-rigged it and it was like good enough. But then I learned, oh no. And tech heads will know it was Cat5 Ethernet cable, which is like the lowest. The best it can do is like 100 megabytes at its best. There's like Cat 8, but most Ethernet cable now that is run through a house is Cat 6. So it kind of felt like it wasn't worth all that effort to have that cable run back there, because what I've heard is no matter what components you have, it's going to only work as best as the weakest link. So you could have really high end everything else, but if you have Cat 5 cable, it's going to get jammed up in there. It's not going to work. That's my layman's understanding. So I had a company, Digital Home Solutions from Springfield, drive all the way to Sunbury. And I said, listen, we probably need new wireless mesh throughout the whole house. And I would really like you to run Cat 6 Ethernet from my office upstairs out in front, kind of juts out from the rest of the house, all the way through to the basement. If you could use the existing cord to pull the new one through, that'd be great. And he's like, I don't know if that'll work. I assume that they fastened it to the floor joists and that won't work. But yeah, if I can do it, I'll try. Long story short, it didn't work. So he has to drill a hole out the front of my office, bury it into the bottommost portion of the siding, go up the siding, across one piece of the cedar trim, go up into the soffit, around my porch, around the short side of my porch, down the gutter, underneath another long run of siding, drill a new hole into the unfinished part of my basement, go over a wall in the unfinished part to behind the TV. But we got it working. We got the brand newest category of Eeros throughout the whole house. And I'm running about 4 or 5 times speed what I had before. How good it feels to be able to hardwire as many components as you can and then only run a few like kids' phones and kids' iPads off of the Wi-Fi, but pretty much everything else is hardwired. I know it's small, but when you're like, Dad, the internet's not working, or Sherry's like, I dropped another work call, I'm going to need to use your office. It feels so nice. It was worth everything that we paid them. So I'm just going to make a plug. If you're tired of messing with like piecemeal components, hire a company, bring them out and say, hey, just optimize everything I have, make it all make sense. Game changer. It's one of those things like Brian Regan jokes about going to the eye doctor. He's like, how can instantly improved vision not be at the top of everyone's to-do list? That's kind of how it feels. No more finicky internet buffering, crazy. Ugh, it's amazing. It's like a whole new world.
Yeah, you can feel the difference when you hardwire it. And I feel like somehow we missed that conversation when you were in the planning stages of like making sure they ran a channel so another wire could be daisy chained through in the future. I don't know where the breakdown was in that, but I'm glad it was fixed ultimately. And Cat5 isn't terrible for hardwiring things. That's still probably fine, but now you've got a better solution, which is great. I did the same thing when I got the PlayStation Portal because it talks over the internet to your PS5 and it works way better when your PS5 is hardwired. So I used one of my access points to hardwire the PS5 off of that, and it works great, much better. Big deal.
I think Cat 6 is like a gigabyte versus 10 to 100 megabytes. So yeah, Cat 5e isn't as bad. There's a step in between called Cat 5e, I've learned. But yeah, to go from 5 to 6 is a 10x improvement then, minimum.
Yeah.
So much better.
Huge.
I know it's a silly thing, but like it's one of those things that like if people don't know, you don't know. But it's like you got to do it now.
Heck yeah. Since we're talking about tech things, do you guys want to hear a dad joke?
Always.
You ready? So, what did Yoda say when he saw himself in 4K?
Don't know.
HDMI.
Oh boy.
There you
Okay.
go.
Oh boy. Oh.
I hope everyone goes and uses that one after they've heard it.
I will at some point. It'll be in my mind, and my kids will be like, "Dad, tell me a joke." And I'm like, all right, here you go.
Here's one for you. I didn't say. Did I say it was a good joke or did I say a tech joke? I feel like
You
I
said
said
a tech. You said a tech dad joke.
Tech dad joke.
It was appropriate.
I outlined the parameters well. I feel like I gave an accurate assessment of what you were getting.
You sure did.
So there you go.
Sure did.
Dillon's got old new cups. I've got new internet and no job. Kendall, what's going on with you?
I tell you what, I grew up playing cards, all sorts of card games, mostly euchre, pinochle, hearts. And went camping. We were seasonal campers growing up as a kid, so we were at the campground all summer. And a lot of card playing in a screen tent near a fire going on in my childhood. And that's something that Amy's family, we're not huge card players. And so Amy doesn't know. She knows exactly one card game once she now knows two. And so on Friday, there was a young adult at our church who had a heart for the Hurricane Helene victims. And then in particular, we had a connection to a teacher for one of the schools that got shut down and for indefinitely at first, but now they are back, but they're still kind of trying to figure things out. And in that area where she is, like there's countless people who are still like looking for clothes and basic essentials and things like that, not sure about Christmas for the kids and things like that. I mean, they don't have like a firm place to stay, some of these folks, much less all of the rest of their necessities. And so this young adult took it upon herself. Her first project of doing some kind of ministry was to host a euchre tournament. And it went so well. I'm so proud of her and her friends who helped her out with this thing. And I mean, there were a lot of people who showed up. It was like less than half of which were actually from our church. It was just other people who had heard about it and wanted to come in and play euchre and knew that it was for a cause. And so there was an entry fee. She got businesses to donate prizes. we had some access to, like, a hot dog machine and a slushy machine and a popcorn maker and things like that. And so there was a concession stand set up that was also proceeds went to this whole thing. You could pay money to put a song on the Spotify queue, by donation only. There's a raffle. The thing raised thousands of dollars. It was great. Um, all that to say, it was a great night of cards. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. Um, it was fun. I particularly did well with the euchering, and and it was cool. My kids um self-volunteered when we got there to be like waiters, and so like they were going around with pads of paper from euchre table to euchre table trying to get people's orders, and there were a lot of people just ordering food from my kids and my kids would go and take money and bring back change and make their food and stuff. It was a
I just
wonderful
imagined
experience.
that your kids were taking orders for food that wasn't there, or that like they didn't know the quantities. They didn't know the quantities of what was actually available, and so they were just like, "Sure, steak, fries, coming right up."
We have
That's
French
funny.
That's
fries
funny.
and mozzarella sticks. Those are the
No, there was a menu up on the anyway,
Okay, got it.
but no, it all
It was
worked out.
funnier in my head.
They did great. But then like they wanted to, from that experience, learn how to play card games, and so uh I know that Hearts is a good, relatively simple to learn card game that you can play with 5 people, and there's 5 people in our family. And so I've been teaching them Hearts, and we've been playing a lot of Hearts every day since then. Taught it to my wife and everything, so we've been playing cards. Today the one game that my wife knows is gin rummy, and she was teaching that to her kids. And so for me, this is like reliving childhood, instituting. We've
Uh,
talked recently about like the things I envisioned as a father doing with kids, and this is another one of those steps for me. Like we're hanging out, and um I mean, I don't think that we've sat around the TV since then. We've been playing cards and eating breakfast for dinner today, which is
that's a
always
that's a
fun.
great that's a great dinner. That's Chloe's favorite dinner. And I love the family togetherness and passing on traditions and sort of the rites of passage. Maybe though, save the like euchre tournament benefiting hurricane victim story until a different time after I've bragged about fancy internet at my house.
yeah. If only we knew how many homes could have been rebuilt for what Kory paid for his new internet.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
you could
Everything
have.
else was great.
Yeah, I mean, he could have donated a Starlink system, but instead, Cat 5 wasn't quite cutting it at his house.
He really
And
turned up. He really
and
turned up his
I don't
nose.
want to see a cord.
I'm gonna have to paint over that 2 inches of Ethernet that comes out of the front of my office now and goes behind the. You guys, I just had to do it while I still had Amazon money. Oh,
That's
so
great.
funny.
But that's been my life recently. We're still relishing the downtime right now of the in between sports time,
Hmm.
because the crazy is going to come back, and right now it's
How
not.
much?
So
How many more days of relishing do you have?
uh December, the very beginning of December, it all starts back up again. So
Okay,
we'll have basketball, and I think we're going to have some indoor soccer at the same time. So
that's one of my favorite things about Christmas break, and it's going to be the case this year. There might be even more days with time on my hands, but there's that beautiful thing about Christmas break when your kids are off school and like you're not official. You might not even officially be on PTO or holiday, but like nobody's doing anything, and so as long as you kind of just like stay apprised to your inbox, like if nothing crazy, it's just like you're more being more reactive, right?
right.
And you come downstairs maybe late, maybe your wife's cooking breakfast or you plan on cooking breakfast and you just like, kids, what do we want to do today? the best.
It is.
Oh, Christmas break, Christmas movies. Somebody's got cookies that they've just made, probably. You're playing your holiday favorites. Have you guys seen this new uh Red One yet? Or is it just in theaters?
I think it's just in theater.
Yeah, I've heard about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've heard about
They say it's an instant holiday classic.
hopefully, man. I like the new turn of that Christmas movies have made. What was the one I watched last year?
Spirited? Will Ferrell,
No.
Ryan Reynolds?
No, I did watch that last year, but there was another one. It was people were in a mansion, and man, I can't
Christmas
remember.
one?
Yeah, it was like an action movie.
Mansion. Christmas.
I'm gonna have to find it. Yeah, because this is bugging me now. But I remember
Movie.
thoroughly enjoying it.
So were you starting to say the trend of like holiday action movies?
Christmas movies that are kind of different in that they're an action film, or they're what I'm not excited about is I recently saw
Violent Night.
Violent Night. That's the one. I endorse Violent Night. It's good flick. Sexy Christmas movies that marketed toward women. It's like Magic Mike, but a Christmassy version. And there's a couple of these out there now where you have like this chiseled like snowman who comes to life, and it's like this chiseled shirtless guy. And
I think this is
anyway.
a different website that you're watching these on. I don't think
I have not watched these. I saw it was
Okay.
on like Good Morning America or something they were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I would say if I had watched them.
I feel like
All I want for
saw
Christmas is abs.
Hot Frosty. It's on Netflix, right?
Hot Frosty.
I'm looking it up. I don't know. Is that what it is?
That sounds like something that it could be.
I don't know.
Hot and Frosty.
I'm not endorsing it.
Hot and Frosty.
I'm just saying I think it's a thing. So
Oh man. Hot and Frosty.
I think it's
So-
just Hot Frosty. I think Frosty turns human and is hot. I think is kind of what Kendall's alluding to.
that I think that's the whole point of the film.
I wouldn't Google Hot Frosty or Hot and Frosty either way, but I do think it's a thing.
You know what else is a thing? And Dylan's not going to like that I said this, but I saw on his LinkedIn today that he got a promotion and is off to bigger and better things. And my brother, I'm very proud
Attaboy,
of you.
Dillon.
Thank
It's
you.
well deserved. You're going to
Yeah.
crush it, man.
Thanks. I think so too. But here we are. I'm going to relish the relish, as Kendall says, and try to do a good job. I've been with the same company. It's an insurtech company for a little over 5 years, and started out in sales. And now I'm doing sales adjacent enablement work. And so they're going to be good. It's kind of what I was doing, mostly what I was doing, a little bit not what I was doing after a handful of sales roles. But thank you. It's nice. It's afforded me a lot of things that are meaningful on top of the work is fine. I'm totally happy to do whatever they need me to do. But it also allows me to work from home pretty much 100% of the time. I maybe have gone into the office this year, I don't know, 5-6 times, something like that, across the whole year so far. And so I'm very appreciative that it allows me that freedom to work in shorts and t-shirts and not have to think about dressing up and putting boots on in the winter. So
That's what I'm doing, just for different reasons.
Yeah.
Hey, and you're too humble to say this, but I will say it for you. Dylan's getting recognized all the way up through the CEO for how hard he's been working and how well he works and how respected he is with his peers and others. And so it's cool to see him getting the recognition that he's deserved for, I'll say, for a while now. But now it's on paper. and papers. Hey, see what I did there?
What?
Money.
Yeah.
It's more money. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, so happy for you, man.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, yeah. The what is it in Aladdin? I'm wearing the genie shirt. Ironically, I didn't try to do that on purpose. When Genie has to do something for somebody and he unenthusiastically waves the tiny little flag, like "whoo,"
Oh,
yeah, just CEO's just enough of a fan that I got a nice nod. So it's very cool. I'm appreciative.
Proud of you, man. We're all proud of you.
Thank
yeah.
you.
That's Kendall, me, and John. The three of us are super
We are.
proud of you.
Yeah.
Hey, I joined their live podcast the other day for a little bit. That was a good
It's
time
cool, isn't
on
it?
Grab 'em in the Brisket. Yeah, it was really cool. They
Yeah.
had a guest on. I was making jokes in the chat that were delivered and fell totally flat in the room.
Mhm.
So that's fun.
Mm.
Um, maybe it was the deliverer who read my message. Maybe, maybe I could have done better. I,
Are you saying this is the Michael Scott, Chris Rock routine? Like you're butchering it. You know,
yep.
they didn't deliver.
Exactly that.
Great podcast, by the way. If you don't follow Grab 'em in the Brisket on anywhere that you're on social, you should. It's a legitimately great show, and they also happen to be in the On Pods network. That's not why I tell you to listen. It's because it is a great podcast. But one of their hosts is also a fan. So John, thanks for being proud of me too. I'm just going to go ahead and assume that that's accurate.
All
Also,
right.
John and his wife are Taco Bell fans.
They sure are.
So
Hey.
comes full circle. Back to always.
I'll
Comes
say this too.
Taco
Like
Bell.
and they talked about it a couple weeks ago. I think mentioned it. If you guys remember a throwback from us when we each made a stuffing patty sandwich, that was John's idea, I believe, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
that was all thanks to him. And then they kind of threw back to that idea a little bit a couple weeks ago. And I don't think he quite remembered that it was us that he had suggested that to, but it was us, John. We did that because of you, sir. And yeah, they do. They're a lot like us, and they kind of do an episode in a couple of parts. And the first part is usually similar to what our entire episode is about. They'll talk about whatever, and it's just guys having fun. And then they have some kind of a barbecue topic of the day that they do, which is fun to listen to too, because like I said, people who are really passionate about a thing, it's fun to hear them talk about the thing, even if it's not a thing that I'm passionate about. But food is something that I'm passionate about, so
Yeah. Speaking
it
of
works.
and listeners and Thanksgiving, I got to share it in the Facebook group. Thank you to listener Jill, who sent an excellent little reel about what to do with all your Thanksgiving leftovers and how they made it into this little like muffin tin sandwich pocket thing. Looks delicious. Excellent video. I'm going to put it back into the Facebook page and try to tag you because it looks really good. They managed to shove a bunch of stuff into a small space and it looks delicious. Sorry if that was a that's what she said. I didn't think through that.
It absolutely was, but nobody
Wasn't what
called
I
it
was
out.
going for, but I'll take
Everybody at home said it to their AirPods.
it. Okay. Whoops.
So
Speaking of things where people talk about what they're excited about, I, on the flight over, watched a handful of episodes of a new show on Netflix called Investigation Alien, where a guy who I think is a very fair reporter on the subject. He's not overly infatuated. He doesn't try to sell you on the fact that it's real. He just genuinely tries to investigate from a pure standpoint. I'm blanking on his name right now, but he's been doing it for something like 40 years. He's been investigating people who have seen unidentified flying objects. But it's an updated version in that it includes all of the discussions that have been going on Capitol Hill recently. So if you remember, we talked about this a handful of months back when the it was like fighter pilots and people in the Department of Defense were talking about non-human biologic pilots that they had recovered from crashed things. So it includes all of that. 6 episodes streaming now on Netflix. You can debate how the quality of the journalism going on in it, but I just like that it's a more recent. Who doesn't love some good like Sasquatch, Bigfoot, and UFO stuff every once in a while? I think it's just all done with a really fair and neutral reporter. And includes all of these recent discussions that have been happening across the globe and some new footage of different sightings that have been happening. That goes back in time to like the 50s, 60s, but includes some of this new stuff as well. So if you're into that sort of thing and you want just like a guilty pleasure binge, check out Investigation Alien, streaming now on Netflix. And while you guys are telling me what you're streaming, I'm going to look up what that reporter's name is.
Yeah, and I think that stuff is interesting. I think the key there, if you're into that kind of stuff, is maybe just don't make those kind of things your whole personality. Just it can be a fun topic of conversation at a party over relish if you want. But maybe just don't make it your whole thing.
Listen, I've talked about before on Sunday mornings, I leave for church early enough that I get to listen to Coast to Coast AM on the radio, which if you don't know what that is, you should look it up. That is the place where all of the Bigfoot people and the UFO people and the seance people and you name the weird thing and they talk about it on that show. God bless George Norrie. And I don't believe a word of what I'm hearing, but boy, I smile to myself and chuckle.
It's so fun.
It is entertaining. I love to listen to it. If you're a gullible person, maybe don't. But it's like watching wrestling. It's the same kind of entertainment that I get.
It feels that way. It very much feels that way. So to be fair, George Knapp is his name. He's been doing it for decades. He started on a local news network and then he's done it independently. What I appreciate about what he does in this one is that he brings in other skeptics as co-interviewers of some of these people who have had sightings. One was a Marine helicopter pilot. Another is a CIA investigator and who was a spy and is a skeptic of all of this stuff. He brings them in as the other people doing the interviewing and the reporting. So I kind of like that he doesn't bring in proponents and believers. He brings in people who are like, I'm going to take what this guy's saying with a grain of salt, and I know how to tell when people are lying. So that part of it is an interesting dynamic. So pretty fun.
George Knapp is a frequent guest host on Coast to Coast.
Oh, cool.
By the way. Anyway, streaming. Kory, I did catch up with you and I watched Bye Bye Barry, which so much fun to watch. So much fun. I love Barry Sanders and I love him even more now. I've got right there hanging up in the office right now for the season right there.
Love it.
He's such a great guy, good role model, and like a diehard Lion, still works with the team, and good guy, great story, and it's kind of a funny story when you look back through Barry Sanders's career and the kind of guy he clearly isn't, and how that shows through. Also on Amazon Prime, I finished watching that, and for once, Amazon Prime was like, we're just going to go ahead and assume that you would like to watch this. So here's what's up next. And very rarely do I say, you know what, Amazon, you're correct. I would like to watch that next. Thank you. It is a series that Amazon has called Game 7. And they're in their first season. Episodes are still coming out week by week. And they just take various famous Game 7s that have happened in sports. So that's going to include NHL. It's going to include Major League Baseball playoffs and NBA playoffs. That might be about it. But the very first episode was the 2003 Yankees Red Sox game.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are thinking that was the year for the Red Sox, and it's not. It was the year before. A lot of people don't remember that like 2004 Red Sox Yankees was such a big deal because 2003 happened. But So that was fun to watch that and relive that. They haven't yet done 2004. I assume they have to because that's the single most important, probably, Game 7 playoff game of any sport that's ever happened. The bloody sock game. So I watched that one, and then I watched the second episode so far, which was the 1987 Edmonton Oilers and Philadelphia Flyers. Wayne Gretzky, a young Wayne Gretzky, coming out with the Oilers and versus a Flyers team that had no business being there. So it was, and yet they pushed him to Game 7. It's fun. It's a good series. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I like that premise, like focusing on like well-known or like really entertaining Game 7s. It reminds me of a similar thing that they had done, I think, called like Losers. And it was like really, really famous times when people blew it. There's the famous one at one of the links golf courses where a guy kept trying to hit it out of the water despite everyone telling him to stop, and he just kept trying to hit it out of the water.
Yeah.
And he's like just 2 strokes at a time, he's going down and down the rankings and like totally. And then like things like that, when there was like these comical and like just you couldn't believe that this person lost in this fashion type things. I like that, like looking across sports to find common story themes. That's interesting.
Yes. So that's me.
And way to go, Amazon algorithm. Dillon, what are you streaming?
Nothing.
What?
I have nothing new to talk about since the last time we talked about streaming. So once I have more, I'll let you know.
I know it's your busy season. You've been working hard, and look what it's gotten you, a promotion and a race. So there you go. Awesome. Well, it's been fun catching up with you guys this week. You'll just what? Tell us.
I'll just need to take some time off to watch more things in January. You know?
Yeah, I'm going to get more paid time off now, probably. So we'll see.
There you go.
Awesome. Well, we're glad that you took some time with us, dear Midler. Thanks for tuning in. You don't tune. Why do we say that about podcasts? You don't tune to anything. You just click play on. Anyway, thank you for joining us for this week's episode of From the Middle. We're glad to have spent some time with you, and we hope you enjoyed it. Shout out to Artiest Man. They make amazing, all natural, locally made men's grooming products. Artiustman.com. That's ARTIUSMAN.com. When you fill your cart, if you've never shopped from there before, please enter the promo code The Middle at checkout. That's The Middle, all one word, all caps. In the promo box at checkout, you will get 25%, almost a quarter, where I'm from, off of that first order. And you'll be glad that you did that because their stuff is really, really good. Kendall, what's your favorite scent these days? Is it still Citrus Fire?
It is still Citrus Fire. It is still. I have something else that I've been putting in my beard here recently, but yeah, Citrus Fire is still the favorite.
I think Restoration is still my favorite of theirs. So check out Artiest Man. Find your favorite scent. You'll be glad that you did that because your face smells like it all day, and then your spouse will love it too, and it's really good. Check it out. Thanks, Artiest Man. We love you. And Midlers, we love you. Have a great week, and we'll see you next Wednesday on From the Middle.
Yeah, and I don't use a floppy disk to save documents either, so we can probably just thank people for tuning in.